All right, well, welcome back to the Old Dog Channel, everybody. I'm sitting here with my new buddy, Ian, from Australia.
Yep.
Welcome to the channel, Ian.
Thank you, Paul.
So give our viewers here a little insight as to who you are and why the hell we're sitting over here in Siquijor. The title of this video is Paul and Ian's Gay Weekend.
His idea.
And he said yes. So now go ahead, tell them who you are, what you are, what brought you to Dumaguete, and a little bit about you.
Okay, well, I never heard of Dumaguete until a couple of months ago. I happened to be sitting in my office, a bit bored, and I put on YouTube, and this suggested video came up from your channel, of all things, and it was about an interview with a sexy Filipina.
Were you watching videos about the Philippines?
Oh, about anything. I watch them about comedy, and for some reason, the comedy one's tied in with you.
No kidding.
So the algorithm must think you're funny.
Huh, okay.
I don't know. Anyway, so this one about sexy Filipina came up, and I thought, oh, that looks interesting. So I watched that. It was actually published in October. I watched it in December. But it was an interview with Jera, which I thought was hilarious. And then after that, YouTube kept suggesting your videos to me. And I learned a bit about Dumaguete, and I thought, well, there's a lot of foreigners, expats, who are visiting Dumaguete and living here. And I thought, gee, what's the attraction? And I often used to have a lot of vacations in Southeast Asia because Australia is so close, of course. And I decided to come to the Philippines because in the past I'd had a lot of vacations in Thailand, but I'm a commercial lawyer in Western Australia in Perth. And there had been some crimes committed on an island called Koh Tao in the Gulf of Thailand, which I was very vocal about because it was quite clear that the Royal Thai Police had stitched up a couple of Burmese guys for some murders they hadn't committed. Yeah, you're familiar with it. And so I became quite vocal about it. And I thought, well, it's probably not a good idea for me to visit Thailand right now. No. Because they've got a habit of throwing whistleblowers in jail. And so I thought, well, it's much safer, much more sensible to come to the Philippines and perhaps check out this place called Dumaguete that so many people have been talking about. And given that I haven't had a holiday for 3.5 years, I thought, well, why not go to Dumaguete? And then we crossed paths. And one of the reasons we're here, you asked why we're here, is that some of your viewers have apparently been saying that they get a bit bored watching you in your home and they want you to go out on location. And so you thought you'd do the right thing. And just for the viewers, you said, oh, I'll come to Siquijor. It's a 1-hour ferry ride. Yeah. And so this is all for their benefit. Yeah, that's true. And every now and then, you'll see young ladies in bikinis walking past behind us in the pool there. Yeah. And
if the sun cooperates.
If the sun cooperates. So your viewers have to stick around until the end of the video, and they might see some bit of eye candy instead of looking at our ugly faces.
You know, they have a list of people that are the most disliked. Yeah. And I was just thinking that we've got a lawyer, a car salesman. Yeah. If we could find a crack whore, we'd have the trifecta.
Well, the crack whore would be the most popular.
So, how's your trip to Dumaguete been so far? What's the highlight? What's the low light? I mean, what do you like? What don't you like? If you've been here, what, a week?
About a week, yeah.
Okay, so there's a guy somewhere sitting somewhere in a cubicle saying, maybe I'll go to Dumaguete. Yeah. What would be your advice to him what to expect? Or what would be, something that maybe you thought you were going to find in Dumaguete that you didn't find, or what happened that you didn't expect? Can you give kind of a newbie guy like yourself a little advice? Or
okay, well, one thing is that the population here is, it's actually across the water over there. The population in Dumaguete is about 100,000, so it's obviously a lot smaller than Manila. You've got clean air. You can look outside your hotel window and there are mountains off in the near distance. Well, you took me, one of the highlights was a few nights ago you suggested that I go out to one of the night spots called Why Not?
And, yeah, the Why Not.
Yeah. And you said, oh, look, it's a great place. You'd fit right in. It's got lady boys and hookers. It's all the colourful people in Dumaguete go there. And so when we were there, I asked you, because I thought, you're a pretty clued up guy. And I asked you, in the Philippines, how do you tell the difference between a lady boy and like a regular girl?
Yeah.
And your answer was too late.
Yeah. Usually when it's too late.
He's always got a quick answer. So that was an interesting night out. The girls are dancing around, and that was an interesting night.
Okay.
And one thing you don't know about is that I actually visited the cemetery here.
Oh, did you?
Yep. And one thing I discovered, which is quite unusual, they said to me, if you live in Dumaguete, they don't bury you in the cemetery there. Yeah, it's a rule.
How do you know that?
Yeah, you got to be dead first.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's all the rules and regulations that I just can't get accustomed to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's my dad joke for today.
Okay.
Yeah. But obviously meeting you and Baby Mae, that was a bit of a highlight.
How's Baby Mae? What do you think of Baby Mae?
Oh, she's delightful.
Isn't she fun?
She's delightful. And the funny thing is, having given her that little koala, she thought that was great. And
yeah, Ian brought her, in case you didn't see it, Ian brought her a gift, which is a koala bear, a little toy koala bear, and it repeats back to you whatever you say.
Yep. Right. Yeah. And so she was pretty happy with that. And I had to fly. I couldn't go straight from Perth to Manila. There were no direct flights, so I had to go via Singapore. And while I'm hanging around in Singapore for a connecting flight, I get a bit of change. So I had like $2 Singapore dollars, which is no use to me in Australia. So I gave that to Baby Mae, and she thought that was the bee's knees. She said that was great. And so, that's cool. I mean, I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But, she thought that's good. No, she's very delightful, very charming. All the things you're not.
I know. It's a mystery.
Yeah. Opposites attract.
It's one of those universal things that just shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So now, I lived in Thailand for a year.
Yep.
And I was very aware of the corruption
Yep.
and the police and all this, that, and the other.
Yep.
And then I read on the news about some tourists that had gotten killed on the beach.
Yes.
And it had made international news, so therefore they got interested in it.
Yes.
And they blamed a couple of Burmese guys for the crime.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watched that, I said, those Burmese guys had nothing to do with these people dying.
Yep.
Because the Burmese over there are thought of a little bit higher than that of a barn animal.
Yes.
Just don't have any status at all.
That's right.
And it's brutal.
Yes.
And then I also saw the police chief and some investigator reward themselves with a big stack of cash.
Yes.
So give us a little bit about that, because you're a bit of an advocate attorney. Okay, you're one of those guys that actually gives a shit. And so when things are, you see injustice or you see a problem, you want to, maybe you don't try to, you can't fix it, but at least you can get involved in it. So
do something.
Maybe tell the viewers a little bit about that, because a lot of the guys are interested in Thailand.
Yeah.
So I'll shut up.
As a
and you go on
contrast.
there.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to suggest that Philippines is free of corruption, but in that particular case, the police chief at the time, his name was Somyot. And he stitched up these two young Burmese guys who are only about 5 foot tall and had no history, no criminal records or anything like that. And they were just working on Koh Tao to send money back to their very poor parents in Burma.
Right.
So they just, like honest young guys trying to make an honest living. Anyway, the police chief, his name was Somyot. And it was interesting because not that long after these crimes were committed, he wound up being exposed as having received $9.5 million from the owner of the biggest illegal brothel in Bangkok. The name of the brothel was Victoria's Secret, and Somyot simply said, that was just a loan from a friend. And with this particular brothel, they had underage girls, and there were allegations of human trafficking and so forth. So one of the things I try to impress upon people is when these police chiefs and senior police officers get on TV or get in the media and they make accusations against a couple of scapegoats, you have to keep in mind not just what they say, but who they are.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, a lot of the people involved in the so-called investigation, and I call it a cover-up, that's just, they use the word investigation, but it's a cover-up. A lot of those senior police officers are notoriously corrupt. And it's one thing to be a journalist in England or the United States or Australia and say, oh, this is what the police say and this is what someone else says. What you have to do is you have to find out how reliable the information is, how reliable the source is. And the Royal Thai Police are just notoriously corrupt and notoriously dishonest.
And why are you not scared, but why do you have some trepidation about going back into Thailand? What have you done? Have you done some reporting on this? Has it gotten national attention? Are you in a spotlight of some sort? What happened?
Well, I suppose I'm in a small spotlight.
Okay.
One thing which happened early on is that an English guy who, by the name of Andy Hall, had been trying to help the Burmese guys, and he had close ties with the Thai defence team or the Thai defence lawyers. And one of the things he did in July of 2015 is he asked me to put him in touch with some forensic experts in Australia, people who are familiar with DNA. So I wound up putting him in touch with a lady by the name of Jane Torpin, and she's been involved in giving forensic evidence in courts for decades in England and Australia. She's an expert. She's written 4 books.
Okay.
I've watched her in court in Western Australia, and her evidence was not challenged in the case I saw, and it was before 3 Supreme Court judges. So she's a bona fide expert in the field. Anyway, she flew to Thailand free of charge or pro bono, and the defence team at the end of the day decided not to call her to give evidence, which was interesting. I mean, you can say it was a blunder, but to be fair on the defence lawyers, we don't know what pressures are put on them to run in something which is less than a rigorous defence. So, I mean, I'd been involved at that stage, but it was very clear from the trial that the evidence from the evidence that the Thai police were presenting really wasn't going to hold water. And so, perhaps I was a little bit naive, but I thought, well, the evidence is so flimsy, it's just all concocted against the Burmese, that this case should be thrown out. I mean, that was a logical thing to happen, but the Thai police and the prosecutor and the court wound up succeeding in having the 2 young guys convicted of murder and of rape, and then they were sentenced to death. And when the judgment came down, I just thought this was really outrageous. So I got very heavily involved, not just in that case, like exposing it. I used to write a lot of articles for a small publication called the Samui Times, and that publication ceased on the 1st of January this year, but I'd written a couple of dozen articles for that. Okay,
so for the guys that want to know more about this, you've got a YouTube channel.
I do.
And it employs a lot of people that are speaking out against this particular island. All these murders are taking place in the Commonwealth of different places. We're getting wind here, guys, so I hope you can hear us. So give the name and we'll plug your channel so that these guys can tune into it.
And then we can talk about something a bit more delightful.
Absolutely.
But sure. Okay. Well, I just use the name Ian Yarwood. My name's I-A-N. For Ian, Yarwood is Y-A-R-W-O-O-D. And there's a picture of my ugly face there. But the channel is basically dedicated to Koh Tao, and I've got some satirical videos, some music videos, and just some informational videos.
So give Ian's channel a check out. So how long did you live in Thailand?
I didn't live there, but I used to go on vacation.
You used to go there on vacation?
Like once or twice or 3 times a year, normally trekking around the very north of Thailand. Occasionally I'd go to a place like Phuket where there are beaches, but we've got great beaches in Perth, Western Australia. So for me, trekking in the very north was much more fun than going to a beach.
And you've been to the Philippines before, or this is your first trip?
This is my second trip.
Second trip.
Yep.
So to you, what do you see as the biggest differences between going to Thailand for 3 weeks and going to the Philippines for 3 weeks?
Oh, I think the most obvious difference for most people would be language.
Okay.
I mean, English is very widely spoken here, so that's a big difference. Another big difference for me, which you pointed out in one of your videos, is that here in here in the Philippines, everyone drives on the wrong side of the road, which is the right side. And in fact, everything's back to front. Like even this video is back to front because the way we make the video, I'm actually sitting on the other side of Paul, and I've got the part down the right side of my head, but it looks on the video like it's on the left side. Everything's back to front.
Yeah.
So
that's how we roll.
That's how we roll. Yeah.
There's no point in doing it correctly.
No. But, yeah, for all our friends.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah. For all my friends in the United States, of course, and I think about 50% of your viewers are in the US.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. For all of you guys, you'd love it because you're familiar with the way everyone drives, and virtually everyone speaks English, at least to a moderate.
What's
level.
the biggest difference between the two countries, other than the English? What else have you noticed? I know you haven't been here that long, but what else would you say is a big difference?
Big difference.
I would say it's the food.
Yeah.
I would say the food choices. I think I love Thai cuisine.
Yep.
I'm not fond of Filipino food. Yep. It's just not my thing.
Yep.
I think
a lot of people say that. Yep.
I think that the Filipino people are friendlier, even though the Thais are very friendly and very nice and very accommodating. I just think there's a little more cheerfulness, if you will, here in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So if you had to choose, if you were recommending to one of the viewers out there, and this guy's got 3 weeks off, what would you recommend? Would you say, hey, go to Thailand and go to this place, or would you say, hey, go to the Philippines and go to that place?
I think it would probably be a bit of a coin flip.
Okay, that's fair.
They can make up their own mind. It's a bit like when you had your video about do I or don't I buy a car.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes you get the information and you make up your own mind. But I think it's a little bit of a coin flip. I think that you've got to be a little bit careful in Thailand. I mean, one of the things in Thailand is if you get murdered or raped or anything, just be aware that the cops are going to cover it up. Yeah, it's you're not going to get justice there. But if you like things like trekking in mountains, I think northern Thailand's fantastic. If you're living in California or Florida and you've got a great beach anyway, there's no real need to go to an island in Thailand. But I think it's a bit of a coin flip. But I think even if you're in the Philippines, you just need to keep out of trouble. You don't want to get involved in any illegal card games or drugs or anything. Just that's a good point. I don't know if I've ever brought that up, but for those of you that are coming over here, it's not okay to get involved in any kind of drug activity whatsoever. So if you're like to partake of the cannabis or anything like that, and you buy it from somebody I know in Thailand, they have a little thing where they'll sell you some weed, and then there'll be a cop that's right there, and he'll arrest you, and you end up paying him, and then the weed goes right back to the guy, and they cycle it all over again. In the Philippines, if you're caught with drugs, you're going to go to jail, and unless you pay big money. And so anyway, just keep that in the back of your mind, guys. That's a little community warning, if you will. Right? All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. Do you have anything you want to say about the chicken? Oh, that chicken's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's a lot more interesting than the two of us. And
make sure you check out Ian's channel. Do you think they should subscribe to my channel, or are they better off just maybe not?
Well, I would suggest that they do subscribe, not for your benefit, not for your ratings, but if you're having a miserable life, whether you're in the north of England or whether you're in the States somewhere, or Australia or New Zealand or Canada or anywhere around the world, Europe, if you're anywhere, if you subscribe to Paul's channel, you'll often get a good laugh. And unfortunately for you guys today, you had my ugly face rather than a hot chick sitting here. So
but it is the big gay weekend. I mean, come on, we got to break it up a little.
Yeah, but if you tune into if you subscribe to Paul's channel, you'll get a good laugh from every few days he puts out a video. You'll get a good laugh and you'll feel a lot better about life. I certainly did. And also, it's a really good idea if you make a comment underneath. have a read of other people's comments, because there are some
Yeah.
really good comments underneath the videos. And I enjoy the comments almost as much as I enjoy your videos.
I do too. I really like it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Okay.
And we will catch up with you next time. Me and Ian will probably get together and make another video. But do leave comments. Do leave some suggestions for us. Because before he bugs out of town, I would like to hook up again with him and do another video. So maybe you guys can give us some topics or some suggestions. The chicken bids you farewell.
Okay, cheers.
Bye.
Okay, bye.